47 days. That was the time a man could endure complete silence before completely breaking down. On the 48th day, he grabbed his phone with trembling hands, typed a pathetic message begging for attention, and destroyed weeks of progress in 30 seconds. His ex didn't even reply. She just saw it and continued living normally, while he plunged into an even deeper pit of humiliation and despair. This story isn't about him specifically. It's about all of us who have ever been in that dark place. About the lie we've been told our entire lives: ignore her, and she will come back. That advice is a poison disguised as medicine. Because the problem was never about making her come back. The problem was always about the man you became when you lost control over yourself. Let's destroy this illusion right now. Silence, withdrawal, the famous no contact, is not a tactic to win her back. It never was. It's an emotional surgery without anesthesia where you need to cut out the diseased part of your psyche. And that diseased part has a name: emotional dependence. It feeds on the pathological need for female validation, on the distorted belief that your worth as a man depends on the approval of a specific woman. When a relationship ends, something brutal happens in the male brain. Neuroscientists call this affective withdrawal syndrome. Your limbic system collapses. Dopamine plummets. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for rationality, simply shuts down. You become a desperate addict searching for the next fix. And the drug? Her attention. A look. A message. Any crumb of acknowledgement. In this state, you do shameful things. Call in the middle of the night. Send pathetic messages. Show up unannounced. Beg. Plead. Promise impossible changes. And each time you do this, you're not trying to win her back. You're feeding the addiction. You're reinforcing the belief that you need her to survive. You're digging your own emotional grave with your own hands. The cold, hard truth is this: she won't come back because you stayed silent. She won't miss you because you disappeared from social media. She won't look for you because you stopped messaging. These are fantasies sold by relationship gurus who have never faced the real hell of a devastating breakup. Silence serves an infinitely more important purpose. It serves for you to die. Not physically, but psychologically. The weak, dependent, needy man, the one who begs for female attention, needs to be executed without mercy. And silence is the scaffold where this execution happens. Every day without contact is a small death. Every resisted impulse is a blow to the old self. Every night you survive without sending that message is a victory against the emotional parasite living inside you. But here's the secret no one tells you: the first days are deceptive. You feel strong, determined, full of righteous anger and wounded pride. You block her number with conviction. Delete the photos with satisfaction. Promise yourself you'll never give in again. And you sincerely believe that promise. Then the second week comes. And with it, something unexpected: real pain. The kind that pierces your chest at 3 in the morning. The kind that turns any song into torture. The kind that makes you check your phone 50 times an hour hoping for a notification that never comes. This is the moment most men break. This is where 47 days of resistance turn to dust. If you're watching this now and recognize this pain, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Because what comes next will completely change your perspective on breakups, pain, and male reconstruction. The phase that comes after the initial determination is the most dangerous. It's not anger. It's not pure sadness. It's something far more destructive: bargaining. Your brain starts negotiating with reality. Maybe if you just send one message. Maybe if you just like a photo. Maybe if you wish her a happy birthday. Maybe. These words are the siren song that sinks entire ships. Bargaining works like this: you create rational exceptions for irrational behaviors. You convince yourself there's a difference between breaking silence pathetically and breaking it strategically. But there isn't. Any contact at this stage is a relapse. It's the alcoholic convinced he can have just one beer. It's the smoker who believes one cigarette won't make a difference. It always does. Here's what really happens in the brain during this phase. The amygdala fires constant emergency signals. It interprets her absence as an existential threat to your survival. Ancestrally, social rejection meant death. Being expelled from the tribe was a fatal sentence. So your primitive nervous system goes into full panic and screams, "Do something, anything, regain her acceptance. But you no longer live in ancestral tribes. You won't die if she doesn't respond to your messages. Your reptilian brain doesn't know that. It still runs software from 10,000 years ago trying to solve 21st century problems. And as long as you obey these primitive impulses, you will remain their prisoner. The real development of the conflict happens in layers. The first layer is physical. Your body literally falls ill. Insomnia, loss of appetite, chest pains, constant anxiety. You wake up in the middle of the night with a racing heart. You spend the entire day in a state of hypervigilance, obsessively checking your phone. This is not weakness. It's biology. But recognizing the cause does not eliminate the responsibility to deal with the effect. The second layer is mental. Intrusive thoughts invade your consciousness without permission. You imagine her with another man. You reconstruct past conversations looking for signs you missed. You create alternate scenarios where everything went right. Your mind becomes a horror theater playing the same traumatic movie on infinite loop. And the more you watch, the more real it seems. The third layer is behavioral. You start doing absurd things. You discreetly stalk her social media. You go to places where you know you might run into her. You ask mutual friends about her life. Each of these actions feeds the obsession. Each piece of information obtained is another nail in the cross of your own sanity. But there is a fourth layer that few discuss, the spiritual. You begin to question your own worth as a man. You ask yourself what's wrong with you. Why you weren't enough. Why she chose to leave. These questions erode the foundation of your masculine identity. And when that foundation cracks, everything collapses. Now pay attention because here's the twist that changes everything. This total destruction is not the end. It's the beginning. You cannot build a new foundation on rotten pillars. You must completely demolish the old structure before raising something solid. The pain you feel is not punishment. It is purification. The fire that burns does not destroy, it refines. Every man who has gone through this and emerged stronger on the other side had to cross this valley of shadows. There is no shortcut. No magic pill. No secret technique that eliminates suffering. What exists is a brutal choice. You can suffer as a victim, lamenting the loss and blaming the world, or you can suffer as a warrior, using the pain as fuel for radical transformation. The difference between these two types of suffering defines the rest of your life. One leaves you bitter, resentful, smaller. The other forges you, tempers you, makes you unshakable. One keeps you bound to the past. The other frees you for the future. One kills your essence. The other kills only the illusions that prevented you from seeing who you really are. And here's something that may sound contradictory. Ignoring her does not mean hating her. It means finally understanding that she was never the problem. You were. Your dependence was. Your need for external validation was. She merely exposed a weakness that already existed. And now you have the rare chance to eradicate this weakness at its root. There is a specific moment in the journey of silence when everything changes. It doesn't happen on day 10. It doesn't happen on day 30. It happens when you least expect it, usually between the 6th and 8th week. It's the moment when you realize you've spent the entire day without thinking about her. And then, upon realizing this, a wave of guilt hits you. How could you forget her? How dare you move on? This guilt is the last trick that emotional dependence uses to keep you chained. It's the final voice of the old self screaming before it dies. It whispers that you are cruel, that you are cold, that you've lost your humanity. But that voice is lying. You haven't lost your humanity. You are reclaiming your dignity. And there is a brutal difference between the two. The truth about ignoring isn't about indifference. It's about sovereign neutrality. Indifference means she never mattered. Neutrality means she mattered, hurt, left deep scars, but you consciously chose not to let those scars define who you are. Indifference is absence of feeling. Neutrality is mastery over feeling. Here is the real climax of this process, the day she finally reaches out to you. Because eventually, she will. It could be out of curiosity. It could be because of a bruised ego. It could be because she realizes you've truly disappeared. The reason doesn't matter. What matters is your reaction at this critical moment. Because everything you've built up to this point can collapse in seconds if you're not prepared. When the notification appears on the screen, your body will betray you. Adrenaline. Racing heart. Sweaty hands. That dopamine rush you haven't felt in weeks. It's at that exact second that you discover whether you've truly changed or were just pretending. Whether you've truly freed yourself or were just hiding. Most men fail here. They respond immediately. With enthusiasm. With pathetic availability. They turn weeks of regained dignity into ashes. Because the painful truth is they never did the silence for themselves. They did it as a strategy to win her back. And when she bites the bait, they reveal that they are still the same needy man as always. But if you did the real work, something different happens. You look at that message and feel nothing. No anger. No joy. No hope. Just a neutral observation of an irrelevant fact. Like checking the weather forecast of a city you no longer live in. Technically, it's information. Practically, it's useless. This is the real test. Not your ability to stay away when she is indifferent. But your ability to remain neutral when she returns offering exactly what you desperately wanted weeks ago. It's easy to be strong when there's no temptation. It's impossible to be strong when temptation knocks at your door disguised as opportunity. And here's the second twist that shatters expectations. When you reach this state of genuine neutrality, when she truly ceases to have power over your emotions, something strange happens. She intensifies her efforts. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you've stopped playing entirely. And that is unsettling for her. Women have an extremely sensitive emotional radar. They detect need from miles away. When you needed her, she felt instinctive repulsion. It was like the smell of desperation emanating from your pores. But when you genuinely no longer need her, when your indifference is not tactical but reality, it creates a vacuum where there was once pressure. Some call this reverse psychology. It isn't. Reverse psychology is conscious manipulation. This is the natural consequence of authentic transformation. You are not faking indifference to generate attraction. You are genuinely indifferent, and this accidentally generates attraction. The difference is essential. But here is the crucial point that separates reconstructed men from merely disguised men. You cannot give in now. Not because she doesn't deserve it. But because you deserve better than someone who only values you when you're unavailable. You deserve someone who chooses you when you are available. When you are vulnerable. When you are being genuinely you. The climax of this story is not her coming back. It is you realizing that you no longer want her to come back. That the man who needed her is dead. That the man you have become no longer fits in that old relationship. It is the moment when you viscerally understand that ignoring her was never about teaching her a lesson. It was about learning the lesson yourself. True freedom arrives without announcement. There are no trumpets. There is no cinematic moment where you raise your arms to the sky proclaiming victory. Freedom arrives quietly, almost imperceptibly, on some ordinary Tuesday when you realize she crossed your mind and you simply let the thought pass like a cloud in the sky. Without clinging. Without dramatizing. Without turning it into a storm. This is the resolution no one prepares you to find. You expected a grand finale. A cathartic confrontation. Perhaps even an apology from her or an epic reconciliation. But the true resolution is anticlimactic by nature. It is waking up and realizing that the pain that once seemed eternal is simply no longer there. Like a fever that breaks overnight. The man who emerges from this process is not the same as the one who entered. He carries the same memories, but they no longer bleed. The wounds have healed. And scars are curious. They mark where you were broken, but also prove that you healed. They are maps of battles survived. Physical evidence that you are stronger than the blows you received. Now you viscerally understand something that was once only an abstract concept. No specific woman is essential to your happiness. Not because women don't matter, but because your inner peace cannot depend on external variables. The foundation of your emotional life needs to be within you, not within another person. When you build your house in a storm, don't complain when it collapses. The most brutal lesson of this process is realizing how much time you wasted being a hostage to female approval. How many decisions you made trying to impress her. How many pieces of yourself you sacrificed to fit the version she wanted. How many times you betrayed your own values, dreams, and ambitions to maintain someone who would leave you anyway. This retrospective anger is healthy. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Anger at yourself for the weakness you showed. Anger at lost time. Anger at missed opportunities, while you orbited a woman like a planet without its own light. This anger is fuel. Use it. Burn everything that needs to be incinerated. Build something new from the ashes. But beware the dark side of this liberation. Some men come out of this process bitter. They build walls so high that no one can enter. They turn neutrality into cynicism. They confuse emotional independence with inability to connect. That is not strength. It is unprocessed trauma masquerading as wisdom. True strength is remaining open without being dependent. It is being able to love deeply without needing desperately. It is understanding that vulnerability is not weakness when it comes from a place of fullness, not lack. You can give yourself completely as long as you don't lose yourself completely. The difference lies in the foundation you built during the silence. Ignoring her was only a symptom of a deeper healing. The real work happened in the lonely nights where you faced your internal demons. On the days you chose the gym instead of stalking social media. On the nights you read, studied, built something instead of sinking into self-pity. External silence only works when internal work is happening simultaneously. The final lesson, the absolute truth you now carry as a medal of honor earned on the battlefield. You did not ignore her to teach a lesson. You ignored your own weakness until it suffocated and died. You ignored self-destructive impulses until they lost their power. You ignored the temptation to return to emotional vomit until you developed disgust for it. She was never the enemy. The enemy was always the man you had become alongside her. That man needed to be ignored, rejected, abandoned until he ceased to exist. And when he finally died, something extraordinary happened. You discovered that there had always been another man beneath him. A stronger, more centered, more complete man. He had been there all along, just buried under layers of dependence and fear. This is the secret that works. Not because it makes her come back, but because it makes you reborn. And a reborn man doesn't need anyone to return. He's too busy building the next version of himself to waste time looking back. If this journey resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and leave that like. Because the community we've built here is made of men who turned pain into power. And maybe you're next.